Hi, I'm Rachael Harris, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Damian and Ann.
Ding dong, Ann wrote him in, and other people that are listening, hi!
Hey gang, how are you? Hi Damian.
Oh, hello, and welcome to another episode of You Might Know Her From
with Damian and Ann.
I'm Damian.
I'm Ann, as always, and you are here for our podcast where we shoot the shit with each other and talk to an actress about the good, the bad, the ugly, the dark, the deep, the beautiful of her career, and sometimes we get into the nitty-gritty details.
Folks, we just want to acknowledge that this week was a huge election, and we are recording this on Sunday. It is rainy here in New York City. We hope that it's good news, and we hope that if it's not, that we can offer you some sort of solace in whatever
distraction,
fucking civil unrest is happening right now on Thursday.
Yeah, and either way, we'll see you out in the streets. We love you. Thanks for engaging with us during this tumultuous time. We are here for you. As always, our DMs are open, so we're really just keep coming. We posted our lesbian chart last week and really got into some experiences with people.
One person who said, purely gossip. Okay, Jodie Foster's Finstagram, calm down.
We're looking for that kind of engagement, so please bring it to us no matter what happens on Tuesday. I am so grateful about one thing, and that is that you recommended to me the Go-Gos documentary on Showtime, which I watched passionately this morning. I got back from my voting. I crawled back into bed with my heating pad, and I turned on my laptop, and I used your password to watch that documentary, and it was so entertaining. It brought me back to my days of constantly watching Behind the Music, which was one of my favorite programs of all time. And I think I actually did watch the Go-Gos Behind the Music, but this was like another level of pleasure. I miss that kind of programming, and I didn't know that's what I needed, but I highly recommend.
And I don't think of myself as being a person that like loves music documentaries, but I did love Behind the Music, and then I was like, oh, I love this. And like they knew that what they did was powerful and a first, like being women who were writing music and playing their instruments, and it was all women. I didn't really like, I love the Bangles, and I know that they are not the same, but like I don't know the Go-Gos sort of the same way. I know like their hits. I knew that Greatest Hits album that came out in 1990, like I knew the picture, but I was like, I knew who Belinda Carlisle was, but I think I thought she was like a great singer, and then watching this documentary I was like, oh, she like was sort of like a punk rock singer who like had a voice that like was like kind of talking, you know?
Yeah. But no, she had like a point of, I feel like her voice had a point of view, which I was into. But I think what I didn't know about the Go-Gos, and this is just my own ignorance because they weren't on my radar in the same way the Bangles were. That was what the Bangles brought you and I together.
Totally.
But the Go-Gos, I think I didn't know about their punk rock roots, which is not true of the Bangles, which are much more of like a
garage
California
band. Yeah.
Yeah, but knowing about their punk rock roots made me sort of love them even more. And the documentary was really like, there was just great found footage of them in the early days and with like the first two members of the band, which got kicked out, and like all of the drama. Here's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about that I don't know if you remember from the Behind the Music, but like one of the things the documentary I thought didn't go into enough was the amount of groupies that they slept with.
Oh, I don't remember that, but I am into that because there was a part where they said something about like booty, right? Like the girls would be like, we want booty or something.
Yeah, it was like one of their producers was like, I've only worked with men heretofore, and I just assumed that there was like men rock stars were one way and women rock stars were another way, but I was totally wrong because they were fucking drugged out of their mind and sleeping with everyone.
Yeah. Also the reveal that Gina Schock, who was the drummer, who was maybe the star of the documentary.
I love her whole attitude. She was like, fucking practice, you losers. What the hell?
But that okay, so I'm going to put this on the record now. We're a primary source. So allegedly Gina Schock dated Jodie Foster for a long time and also Sara Gilbert for a long time. In the documentary, it's revealed that Gina and Jane Wiedlin fucked and dated, and that like Jane ended their relationship, and Gina's sort of like, so it was sad. Just kidding. The band wasn't going to fucking suffer. And I was like, you are fucking amazing.
There's like Hollywood lore about how many groupies the Go-Gos fucked, and that like they had just like rooms full of men. I don't know about women. I'm sure Gina was sleeping with lots of women. I would love to hear about that. But it was a rotating door of like men that they would fuck. And there was like maybe a video. I'm going to do some research on this, but I highly recommend the documentary. It brought me to a great place this morning.
I'm going to say, here are a couple of my takeaways aside from Gina, was that one, I was thinking like, oh, I can't wait till Ann and I can do Patreon episodes where we can like interview people that are like not quite you might know her from, but are like members of the Go-Go or their manager Ginger, their former manager.
Oh my God.
Anyway, folks,
Ginger.
yeah, you need to watch it. It is so thrilling to me. And also Belinda Carlisle was like, her jaw, she has like a Bernadette Peters jaw, like
Original jaw.
her original jaw and all that found footage. I was like, oh yeah, okay, yes,
I love it.
I love it.
Wasn't Jane Wiedlin on The Surreal Life?
Absolutely, yeah, she was for sure.
Yeah.
And then because
she also, of course, was in Clue as the singing telegram, which is like one of the greatest things that's ever happened.
Yeah, she was also on the soap opera Spider Games, which I was very into.
Oh my God, that's right. I didn't know that I love the Go-Gos as much as I do, and I hope that some of you are Go-Gos fans and will reach out to us about it because we are down to talk about this. Also, the manager has some of the best style that I've ever seen in my entire life. I have to say that this week's guest was so thrilling when we finally got her on the books. This is somebody that Damian and I have been following for a long time. And I feel like because we were like idiots that watched a lot of VH1 Best Week Ever back in the day, we have been following the career of the great Rachael Harris for many years. So the fact that she was going to sit down to talk with us, we didn't know that we would spend close to 2 hours with her. So we really just like had the time of our lives. She was one of the most generous guests I think that we've had in the whole time.
Yeah, and as we've said before, like when you're in that Zoom, you just like never know what you're going to get. And she gave us so much. And also the thrill of this project, this podcast, is when you uncover other layers of an artist. And obviously we were familiar with Rachael Harris as a comedic actress and as a comedian or like a talking head, but what was so wonderful is like really like uncovering these other layers and like seeing how multifaceted she is. So I feel like
she's an incredible dramatic actress.
She's an incredible dramatic actress. So I think that there's like less to say, and I just like we need you to get this in your ears because she is chef's kiss.
You might know her from The Hangover,
For Your Consideration,
Lucifer,
Reno 911,
Suits,
Fat Actress,
and Natural Selection. We are just so excited to be sitting down here with actress Rachael Harris. Rachael, thank you for joining us.
I am so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, guys.
We're just going to dive right in, Rachael. You were a series regular on the Kirstie Alley comedy Fat Actress and a recurring character on Reno 911 and Curb Your Enthusiasm. You've also appeared in some of our favorite films of all time, and those are, of course, the Christopher Guest movies. You make appearances in Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, and as Debbie / Mary Pat in For Your Consideration. Can you talk to us about how you got roped into that universe and what it's like to work on a Christopher Guest set?
Okay, so they really roped me in. I was like, please don't have me get involved with this iconic cast of people. Probably like you guys, I saw Waiting for Guffman in Los Angeles immediately, as soon as it came out. And I remember after that saying, God, Buddha, universe, whatever, whoever believes anything, whatever we believe, if there is one director that I ever get to work with, please, may I please work with Christopher Guest. So then cut to a couple of years later, I'd been going to the Groundlings School of Improvisation. And so Chris, Eugene, and Karen Murphy were in the audience one night. Thank God I didn't know, because if I had known, I would have had serious panic attacks. Or it just would have been like nuts and not been able to do it. And then I got a call the next day. This is a true story. I got a call like the next day saying Dog Show Productions is called and they'd like you to meet with Chris and Eugene. And then I had a meeting with Chris and Eugene in their office that I will never forget to the day I die. And I was so I've never been more nervous for anything in my life. But it was so enormous for me that I broke down crying as soon as I walked out of that meeting, because it was kind of too much for me to get my head around. And I called my manager right away and I just cried. And I was like, I have no idea how I did. I don't know. I was so nervous and just like so young. The manager at the time that I fired shortly after was like, Rachael, when you're in there in the meeting with them, you should just break into some of your characters that you do at the Groundlings.
Oh, no.
And I, in my gut, was like, I don't think that's a good idea. Then I was freaked out because I thought, well, he's got to know more than I do. He's this manager at Burlstein Gray. And I was like, this has got to be, he's got to know what the fuck, because I don't know what the fuck to do. So I went in, sick to my stomach. But what was great was that Eugene and Chris then would start improvising back and forth. And in my mind, I was like, is this a test? Am I supposed to join in on the improv? They didn't ask me. They didn't say anything. And I was like, it was horrifying And so then Chris said, well, where did you go to college? And I said, I went to Otterbein College. And he said, oh, well, do they have like a school song? And he goes, Otterbein College. He goes, first of all, is that like a Nazi camp? And I was like, yes. So it was good because I was just like yes-anding everything. And I said, yes, it was a Nazi camp. I have a degree in being a Nazi, which, wow, bad. This is like out of context. My career's over. Out of context, my career's over right now. And then he said, well, can you sing the school song? And I thought, does he mean that? And does he want me to do it in earnest? Or does he want me to, like, it was horrifying. And so I shit you not, I sat there and I looked at Chris Guest and I said, in a quiet, peaceful village, there is one we love so true. She ever keeps her welcome to her friends both old and new. And he did not flinch. He stared right into my eyeballs and let me sing this song full on. I might as well have been taking off my clothes at that point. And like it was so scary and so vulnerable. And afterward, he just kind of looked at me like, she just did that. I mean, I'm not going to lie. It is an intense experience. But then once you befriend people like Catherine O'Hara and Eugene, and thank God Mike Hitchcock was in all of these movies, and I was able to say, Mike, I think Chris hates me. And he was like, oh, no, that's just the way he is. Everybody thinks he hates him. Hates them. It's like, just do what you do, Rach. I was like, okay, all right. But then after years of being with him, it was fine. Wow, I just took it, and we're done. That was an entire hour.
No, this is like what we're invested in. This is what we want to talk about.
100%.
Okay.
And we mentioned the top of the question, like, also these sets, the other sets you were on, like Fat Actress and Reno 911 and Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the anxiety level coming to work on one of these sets, whether it's Christopher Guest or one of these other projects, where you're essentially given an outline from our understanding and then asked to improvise your dialogue?
Mm-hmm. It's horrifying. It's horrifying. Having been on shows where there's like heavy dialogue, that's a different kind of anxiety where you're like, you just don't want to waste people's time, but you're not coming up with the funny. Whereas when you're given an outline, you're like, okay, like Fred, dear God, Fred Willard, rest in peace, was one of the most genius people ever to watch, but he came prepared. He was like a horse, like in a gate trying to get out all of the material that he had prepared. Some people don't necessarily like to prepare. They want to like do it in the moment. Well, with Fat Actress, that was one of the most fun things I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm not a Scientologist, but Kirsty is. But I have to say, to this day, she's one of the kindest people I have ever worked with, and the most thoughtful. And as a woman, the most supportive. Because at that point, she was struggling with her weight. She didn't like being the weight that she was, but she was making the most of it at that point. And I think that show was ahead of its time, but she was very supportive and was very like, do you like what you're wearing? And like, let's change it if you don't. And it was great. She was very, very supportive. So that took the anxiety level down a little bit because I knew that if I didn't know what I was doing, I could look at Kirsty and say, I have no idea. Where should we go with this improv? Also, our director was great, but we had a long leash on that too. Like we could say the craziest stuff. Like Ryan Callen and I, we had so much fun. So that was great. But then on Curb Your Enthusiasm, after the first day working with Larry David on that, because I was working with Larry David, Jeff Garlin, and Mel Brooks. Just Mel Brooks, you guys. So I'm trying to improvise with Mel Brooks. Horrifying. But there's something about it that you also are excited about. So you're super anxious, but you just kind of lean into it. And you're like, okay, I'm just going to fucking go. And then you really get present and you try to play off of them as honestly as possible and don't try to be funny. You just try to be real. And hopefully my brain is bananas enough that whatever pops out is weird.
So Rachel, I'll say, casual moviegoers may best know you for your roles in big budget mainstream comedies. You famously play Ed Helms' shrewish girlfriend Melissa in The Hangover, a lesbian soccer mom whose child is on Will Ferrell's team and kicking and screaming. You're Eddie Murphy's like realty client in The Haunted Mansion.
Oh, no, client.
Yeah. He's selling you a house. But you also appear in Showtime and Daddy Daycare, which are both of his films. You're in both the Night at the Museum sequel, and then you're also in Starsky and Hutch with the iconic duo of Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson. Can you describe what it's like to be working on one of these huge sets with like a male movie star comedian versus the ensemble of a Chris Guest set?
Yeah. Well, you
I know that
wait
was a
around
lot.
a lot. No, you wait around a lot more in your trailer, because you're not part of the ensemble. I mean, so physically, hi. Oh, that's right. We're not filming this. This is a podcast. But we are a little bit. I just went wonky with my computer. I will say my experience with Todd Phillips doing Starsky and Hutch, The Hangover, and I also did some reshoot scenes on Bad Santa, was awesome. It's fun when somebody likes what you do a lot. A Night at the Museum, that was great because I got to work with Ricky on that, but parts of my scene got cut from that. It's a whole different thing when you're improvising, because those were like improvisational movies and this was scripted. There's a little bit more like you want to make sure that you bring some options for whatever they've written for that character. But you want to lead with your first choice. Does that make sense? Like you want to come in strong with your first choice, but then be directable.
Well, I'm just curious because even though Christopher Guest is obviously a man and Eugene Levy and Fred Willard, like there are men in this ensemble. And this, I don't mean this as an insult, of course, but I see as like a softer male energy than maybe some of the like bro-y energy of a lot of those films we just named, So I'm curious
Absolutely.
Of what the energy...
And in the Christopher Guest films, which are different because they're an ensemble anyway, but like I feel like the women and the men get equal weight in terms of who gets to be funny.
You're absolutely right. There is a bro energy. And I would be a liar if I didn't say, as a woman, I felt like I needed to show up and really bring it to stand out. But I'm used to being in male-heavy writers' rooms, and also I feel very confident in that world. But I do know that I do have to show up and be like, I'm just as important. I have strong opinions as well. And I mean, I've worked on some television shows with some male co-stars that were it's like they wanted to show their dominance. And that was something that I'd have to step back and address and say, okay, how am I going to approach this? To say, please don't direct me. There is a director on set. The director can come over and give me notes. You're not the director. So the way that I'd have to do that is just say, hey, I feel a lot more comfortable if you can give your notes so just so that I hear it from one person. So I'm not hearing it from you and from the director as my co-star. So if you can just tell the director, that would be so great. Like you have to go into that mode so that you don't make people angry. Because if I were to say, don't give me direction, right?
Oh my God.
If I'd say, please don't give me direction, they'd be like, wow, she's difficult to work with. So there is some sort of massaging that goes on. If I'm completely honest and I'm old enough in my life where I'm like, why not? There's some finesse that has to happen with some big bros on that set. And I've had like weird experiences I had a very weird experience happen on Starsky and Hutch with one of the male actors. Not Owen, not Ben. I love Ben. I've had great experiences with Ben and Owen.
Let's get into Starsky and Hutch just for a second, because if you go back to the movie, Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson are doing a mime act at a bat mitzvah to the song Send in the Clowns.
Right.
While you watch them and smoke a cigarette next to Molly Sims.
Yes. Lovely Molly Sims.
Sort of on the heels of what we asked, do you feel like these big budget comedies sort of cast funny women to just watch men do funny stuff? It's like, we know Rachael Harris is so funny and so talented. Let's cast her in this movie and then like not use anything that she does that's great and like have her watch the men be funny.
Well, and listen, my friend, I have an actress friend that's like, oh, I love it that you were in The Hangover. The two women in the film that were predominant are a bitch and a prostitute. And she was like, what the fuck is up with that? And I was like, well, I know, but I play a really good bitch.
It's just like also like looking at a lot of these films, I was like watching them and preparing, and I was like, and this is not like an insult to like Carmen Electra, but I was like, why are like Carmen Electra is essentially the female lead here, and all of the female comedians in the movie are sort of like don't have a lot to do. And I was like, oh, like all of these male comedians just surround themselves with sort of like models, and like they're like running around in like white t-shirts like with their bras on. And I was like, oh, this is like so frustrating.
Frustrating is an understatement. Yes. But that's a thing too. I think that's why that's why I wanted to start doing dramas, and why I ended up playing the therapist to the devil, which doesn't make sense. None of it. The show doesn't make sense, but it's wonderful. You know what I mean? Like Lucifer, it doesn't make sense. We all know it. All of us on the show were like, we know it's bananas, but we love it. But that's why I started to do drama, because I was tired of being the second person next to a guy in the comedy and playing his wife. Old School is all dudes, and yet a girl that looks like she's 15 in underwear. Yeah. I mean, I thought Old School was great. I'm a big Will Ferrell fan. I love him. But I do think it is fascinating. Perry Reeves, my good friend Perry Reeves, is in that movie. And she too is like a bitch. Like, they just make her like a dumb bitch. And it's like, wow. Like, but when I started auditioning for things, I was like, oh yeah, I'm a really good, like, saucy sidekick. I can be like the beautiful woman's best friend, since I'm short and quirky and I have a low voice and nobody knows what to do with me. So I was like, that's who I am. But thank God for people that are like, wait a minute. Like, I love Kumail Nanjiani, who's like, no, I can be a lead in a movie. Why not? I've gotten used to seeing white men in leads forever and identifying with them.
Yeah.
Totally.
Have them try to identify with me.
Rachel,
Yes.
you won a Breakthrough Performance Award at the South by Southwest Film Festival and an Indie Spirit Award nomination for the 2011 drama Natural Selection. You star as Linda, the wife of a fundamentalist Christian man who refuses to have sex with you since you can't conceive, and sex for anything besides procreation is a sin. On his deathbed, you find out that he's been spilling his seed at a sperm bank for years, and his dying wish is to meet one of his children. We just watched this movie, found it, loved every piece of it. We're so excited to talk to you about it. It felt like a real departure from the work that we know you to have done in the past, but you've said that the writer of the film, Robbie Pickering, didn't initially want to meet with you for the role.
Yeah.
So what hoops did you have to jump through in that initial meeting in order to get him on board with casting you in this sort of indie drama?
I had to tell my reps that I wanted to do everything to get in there and read for him. And he was like, I'm not going to read Rachael Harris. And the casting director, thank God, the casting director said, no, I really think you need to just see her. So the battle wasn't really there. It was that I once I got in to read for the film, Robbie said, oh, this is Linda, which was great. So then they cast me in the film. And then my brother is completely fine now and in remission. But at the time, he's my big brother, and he was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so I said, I promised he and his kids a trip to California to go to Disneyland. And I said, in this falls, I can't believe I'm saying no to this film that I fought so hard to get in for and read for. But I said, I can't do it. So then Robbie Pickering Facebooked me. Like, he sent me a Facebook message, and he said, without going through agents and managers, and he said, Rachel, if we push this movie like a week and a half, would you do it? He's like, I'm so sorry that I'm going through. And I was like, oh my God, yes. So then I Facebook messaged him back and said yes. And then it happened. But in the meantime, when I couldn't do it, they cast another actor in the role. And I guess she wanted a lot of money, which the movie was made for less than $200,000. It was like $5 to make. They'd cast another actress. And I guess she wanted, which I completely understand now, she wanted a nanny and separate quarters for her kids, and it didn't work out. And also, this actress had said, why did you cast Rachael Harris in this role? And he said, what do you mean? And she goes, I thought you were making a serious movie. Yeah, so he said, I am making a serious movie. And so then he didn't tell me that until after we were done shooting the movie. I am the most proud of Natural Selection. I'm so grateful you guys watched it.
It's excellent, and we hope our listeners are going to watch it. It's on Amazon Prime. People should be streaming it and watching it.
Well, and Sarah Silverman, who's a good friend of mine, but not, it breaks my heart all the time, because she always says during Oscars, she's like, the most overlooked performance for an Oscar was Rachael Harris in Natural Selection. I'm like, Sarah, that's very sweet, because getting the nomination for the Independent Spirit Award was the hugest thing of my life. I get choked up by it because it felt like, wow, I'm finally getting to do what I really feel like I'm capable of doing and what is really my voice, what I love to do. So that makes me, I'm moved, because I didn't know you guys watched the movie, and it's very near and dear to my heart.
we were going back and forth with each other because we know your comedy work so well. So we felt very well prepared for the interview, just like on a base level. But then I was like, oh, there's this whole new world of your work that we weren't familiar with, like from our ignorance. So it was exciting to watch you do this.
And that's why Lucifer came in. Like, they were like, this is not like a first or second lead on Lucifer. And I said, I know, but I love this character. I know what to do with her. And our showrunners, I have to say, have been great, because it could have very easily been like a very small recurring character. And I'm really grateful to them for fleshing it out and letting me have these opportunities that I wouldn't have gotten in larger movies.
We're going to get to the weirdness that is Lucifer in a second, but I want to talk a little bit about like sort of this performance in Natural Selection. And, you know, you've said that you started your career wanting to do Chekhov and to become a woman of the New York theater, and then you got sidelined when you started booking commercial work.
Yeah.
Natural Selection seems like a step in that initial direction as your character sort of carries all the dramatic tension on her back. Did you feel like, I mean, I guess you answered this, like, do you feel like it opened doors for you for more dramatic roles? I guess you answered that with Lucifer.
I don't think it did to the effect that I really wanted it to. I mean, Aaron Korsh gave me a lot to do on Suits. That's been really great as well. That was comedy, but he also gave me the ability to do some really great dramatic work.
What is that tone? What do you call that? But like, I feel like Suits and Lucifer sort of operate in this, like, we were like, it's not really a drama, but it's not like a comedy, but it's something in between. It's like post Ally McBeal.
Exactly. Well, I can't believe that you said Ally McBeal. If I could go back and be on any show, it would be Ally McBeal, because I loved that tone of that show so much. It was completely me. Like, I love that it was fucking broad in some areas where it was like, that's fucking crazy, but I love it. Like the dancing babies and shit. And that was, and Peter McNichol, his shoes squeaking, you know, when he would go, like that shit. And then Robert Downey Jr., just heartbreaking. And the music aspects of it. That's why I love Lucifer, because we also got into the musical aspects of it. And my showrunner, we have the same simpatico as far as Ally McBeal goes. But I would classify Suits and Lucifer as, like, I hate to use the word dramedy, but it is like a dramedy. It's got soapy aspects to it where you are allowed to have real emotions, for people to cry when they watch your show, knowing things don't always end up okay in life. And I think that's the thing that I like. Getting On was my favorite show. For
one of the best of all time. One of the best shows on television.
My dear friend Niecy Nash.
Oh, she's so fucking good.
Niecy taught me something about that, because they wanted her to read for a different character in the beginning. And she said, nope, I'm this character. And they were like, we don't see you as that. And she said, just let me read it.
She's incredible in it.
She read that audition. They did not want her to read for that role. And they said, oh my God, you're that role. And so I want to be Niecy Nash all the time. You know, like, she inspires me. So if I could live on an HBO dramedy like that, I would. And Lucifer, thank God, went to Netflix, because we got to do more. And like, I was like, I just want to see some naked people.
Yeah.
You know, and I want to be able to say fuck.
Rachel, as you've said, you spent 5 seasons playing Dr. Linda on Lucifer, which just recently started filming, I believe, the second half of its 5th season. This is a show where you play Satan's psychologist, and over the course of the series, you not only meet God, but you also end up having a baby with Lucifer's brother, the angel Amenadiel. Mm-hmm. What is the hardest part of acting in this genre world that has, as we've discussed, these sort of fantastical elements, but is somewhat grounded in reality and human emotion? I.e., like, I'm having an angel baby and naming him Charlie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's great is that I give eyes to the audience. You know, like, I am the audience, going like, what the fuck? If you knew for sure God existed, and then you got to meet God, and then you got to meet the devil, would it scramble your circuits so much that you'd go crazy, or could you cope with it? And I think what's been great about it is that my approach, and it is the same with drama and comedy, is to try to be as real and in the moment as possible. You know, my character has a lot of like, I'm sorry, come again, what moments? And she's also allowed to be like, I'm not handling this well moments as well. I feel very lucky that I get to play the comedy aspects of it, as well as the absurdity, and also the realness of how fragile life is right now.
Lucifer has a huge fan following, and you now have what Anne and I would call like a Comic-Con fan base. What is the most intense or strangest or weirdest Lucifer fan experience you've had? We found videos of you of like Dr. Linda's a badass with like Mama Loves Mambo like underscoring it all, and it's like all of your like wisecracks and like bubbles and like it was cool.
Oh, I will say in the beginning I was so weirded out by all the Comic-Con stuff, and then the first time you go to any Comic-Con, you are so loved and so embraced. Any Comic-Con, anything like that that fans, I get it. Like, I will go in a heartbeat. The weirdest experience that I ever had was when, and I've told this story before, so forgive me if whatever, but I was in a meet and greet. But you're really, like, everything's super safe, but there was a man there that I'd seen. He had a super long beard that, like, went down to his waist, maybe a little bit lower, which was fupa. What? No, he was a really skinny guy. He didn't have fupa. But he had a big, full beard, and he had a shirt on that said, "Pull my beard for good luck." We're in the meet and greet, and he's literally sitting like 2 feet from me. And he was like, "So, Rachel," at the end of the meet and greet, he's like, "Would you pull my beard for good luck?" And I was like, "Okay." But at this point, I'm like, "Yes, of course I will." And so I like just tugged on his beard like this, and he goes, "You're on camera." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "There's a camera inside my beard, and I'm recording this right now." And I was like, "That is awesome." And the only thing that I will say that saved me was that there were a lot of women that were in that meet and greet. He was like one of maybe 2 guys that were there. This is in Germany. The other women that were in the meet and greet, I said, "Okay." And then I looked at them and they all were like they all were mortified. But then also people dressed up as you is the greatest thing ever. We were canceled on Fox. We were done. And the fans, it was one of the very first times that Twitter exploded. That was not us.
Yeah,
that was our fans.
Rachel Harris, we are transitioning to the part of our show that we like to call the rapid fire. It's rapid for us. We're just going to fire off non sequiturs at you. You can take as much time as you need.
Okay. I'll try to do it as rapidly as possible because I find that's when like the best shit comes out. All right.
You starred as Kirstie Alley's makeup artist and stylist Kevin Sheckett in the Meta Showtime series Fat Actress. You already said that Kirstie was like one of the nicest people that you've ever worked with, but was that set not fucking weird because it was full of Scientologists? Kirstie, John Travolta, the late Kelly Preston, may she rest, and now former Scientologist Leah Remini. Did you feel any pressure at all to join Scientology?
Yes. I didn't feel pressure. But I was aware of all of it around. We shot at the Celebrity Center, and I was a little bit nervous that they were going to come after me, but they never did.
Oh my God.
Like Kirstie was like, "You should come over and visit the Citizens Commission on Human Rights." And I was like, "I know, I like my prescription meds. Thanks, bye." Oh
my God, they wanted to do like they wanted to clear you.
Yeah, it's okay. But Kirstie, again, uber respectful. But yes, I was aware of it, and there were people on set. But again, that was just my own paranoia.
How was the Travolta energy? How was the Travolta
amazing.
Energy?
You guys, he is awesome. And Kelly you can see my face.
Yeah.
Super duper kind. And
no, we love him. We love him.
Leah Remini, oh my God, so fucking funny. But I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy Leah is out. But whatever works for you is what works for you. And I don't pretend that I know anything. I don't.
Here.
No,
yeah.
Okay, Rachel, you've played moms in numerous films. Just to name a few, the comedy horror zombie film Freaks of Nature, the Haley Steinfeld Jessica Alba action film Barely Lethal, and of course the lead character's mom in Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Be honest, do you create a backstory for each of these moms, or you just kind of roll in and shoot from the hip?
No, I roll in and shoot from the hip. On a lot of it. I'm not going to lie. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, I did prepare. I have a coach. I have an acting coach that I work with on everything. Yeah, no, the backstory wasn't too involved. I mean, like, other than I'm a mom and I have kids and that's my life.
That's who you are.
I'm just being honest. Natural selection and all that shit, yes. Major fucking script analysis work. Okay.
Okay. You played Tanya, Zooey Deschanel's character's boss on New Girl. Were you or were you not into the use of the made-up word adorkable to describe that show?
No, I was not into it. I'm not into that kind of shit.
Disgusting.
Okay, Rachel, early in your career, your day job was one of your day jobs was as Roy Scheider's nanny, and you said he helped get you your SAG card by giving you lines on Sequest DSV. What kind of snacks did Roy Scheider keep in his house for his kids?
Oh my God, I love this so much. Again, Roy, God rest his soul, the sweetest, kindest person in the world. Okay, what snacks? He drank soy milk, like chocolate, soy milk. Christian, if you're listening, his name's Christian Schneider. Christian Schneider. Hi, Christian. He's like in his 30s now, and I'm 80. Okay, so
so they were early soy milkers. I mean,
they were early soy milkers, yes. And I made like broccoli for them. We had like little broccoli trees. We had macaroni and cheese, like apple slices. You know, back then there wasn't. Back then, I mean, there was processed food, but there really wasn't. So it was a lot of fruit, a lot of yogurt, string cheese, that kind of stuff.
I love Roy Scheider. He's one of my favorite actors, and I was glad to hear that he seemed like a good man.
He was a really good man. I didn't realize what happened on Sequest, but they brought me and gave me these lines, and then they cut them for air. And I was like, my whole family was watching on the East Coast, and I was sitting on the phone with them in Los Angeles, and they're like, oh, we see you. And I'm like, okay, great, here comes my scene. And then they're like, okay, they just cut to commercial. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, you're, and I said, and then I realized again, oh, that's right. They weren't really going to give me a scene. It was so I could get Taft-Hartley laid. And that was Roy. And like, he did it. He was like, you need to get your SAG card. Let's do this.
It's really
Love
generous.
him for that.
Yeah.
Okay, Rachel, you played Tia and Tamara's R.A. Simone on Sister Sister. If you're going to party like a college freshman today, which twin would you choose as your drinking partner?
Tia.
Right away, right off the bat.
Quick,
yeah.
Boom.
Because back then, just based on that experience, Tia was the one who was a little bit more like, I'm going to get my groove on. Like, she was, like, Tamara was very rules. And also, every time I swore on that set, I got reamed. They were just
really?
like, you don't do that. You don't, mm-mm. But I was like, hi, I'm 30 playing a 19-year-old.
Oh, I love that. That's my
It
dream.
was crazy. 30 playing a 19-year-old.
Okay, Rachel, you've done commercials for Quaker Rice Cakes, Geico, Listerine, Avis, T-Mobile, and Expedia, to name a few. Which of these companies gave you a lifetime supply or a lifetime membership?
None. Zero.
No perks?
You didn't
no
get
lifetime
grandfathered
perks?
in?
Oh, you know what? Actually, I did get like a box of Quaker Rice Snacks. I remember getting Quaker Rice Snacks. Yeah.
Like once a month?
No.
Oh,
Just like,
one-off?
and I got to keep my wardrobe on like Quaker Rice Snacks because I did that consecutively. They gave me a lot of money for Quaker Rice Snacks, and that was great for me. But the Expedia commercial is the one that changed everything for me. That one where I'm
How
like,
so?
huh,
It just launched you.
Terry. Yeah, it was like the humor in that one was like, I got the most comments ever from people. And the most hits like off of casting from people seeing that, being like, oh, okay, she can probably be funny.
Okay, I like that. Rachel, you've appeared in countless sitcoms. Friends, Sister Sister, Frasier, The Office, Happy Endings, New Girl, Modern Family, Cougar Town, New Adventures of Old Christine, 8 Simple Rules, According to Jim, to name several. Which of these comedies had the most demanding star or dysfunctional set? You choose.
I'm just trying to think, dysfunctional set or like demanding star. Oh, well, well, I'd have to say on Sister Sister, Jack A and Tim Reed would have a fight. They always wanted the other one to get to the table read before the other one did. Like, we'd all be sitting for the table read, and they'd wait to see if Venus Flytrap or Jack A was going to get there first. Like, they wanted to be the last person to sit down to the table read.
Oh,
like, they didn't want to be sitting there waiting.
Tim needed to give it to Jackie Harry. Come on.
She's a star. She's a star.
She is. But I get it. You know, you're WKRP in Cincinnati's Venus Flytrap.
Yeah.
As you may or may not know, I'm a lesbian, and Damian and I are lesbian enthusiasts.
What?
You play a lesbian in Kicking and Screaming and For Your Consideration, and even mention that you're always getting cast as a lesbian in the short series We Need Help, where you and Cheryl star as versions of yourselves.
Yeah.
Rachael Harris, name your top 3 lesbians.
My top 3 lesbians that I've played? Okay,
No,
for sure.
your top 3 lesbians,
my top 3 lesbians?
in real life. Real life lesbians.
Well, Niecy Nash is my number one right now.
So excited. I was so excited.
Yeah, me too. Just so happy. Niecy Nash, Tig Notaro. I don't want to get out of this conversation and be like, why didn't I say?
You can always
Okay.
email us a 4th or 5th lesbian, but we'll take whoever's on the top of your list.
Joni Marchenko is one of my favorite writers. She's not like a well-known celebrity, but she's one of my favorite writers, and I love her. Oh, Sarah Paulson. What the fuck am I saying?
Okay, we got bonus.
That's
Yeah.
4. That's great.
Okay,
Yeah.
Rachel, you recently were on a team with Caroline Ray for an episode of the game show 25 Words or Less, where you helped your contestant get to the finals. In 25 words or less, what is one secret you can tell us about Caroline Ray? So stupid. We're so stupid.
I love Caroline Ray so much. What is one secret that I can tell you about Caroline Ray?
You've got 25 words.
Oh my lord, 25 words. 25 words. That's
Or
a
less.
lot. I
Or
can do
less.
it. Oh,
Yeah.
a secret? Mm-hmm. Maybe not. I think this is okay. Helped me with my divorce.
Oh.
I love hearing that. She's a good
makes
friend.
That's sweet. Okay, I like that. That's real.
Sage advice. I'd throw that in there.
Love her for that.
Super caring, amazing, and kind.
Okay, Rachel.
Yeah.
You appeared on both mom sitcoms, Notes from the Underbelly and In the Motherhood. Which one is which?
Okay. Notes from the Underbelly. I played Cooper on that. I hated children. I was an attorney that fucked everything in sight. And I was on that with Jennifer Westphal, Michael Weaver, and Melanie Paxton, one of my best friends. And in the Motherhood, I got to play the boss of my best friend in real life, Cheryl Hines. And she was on that show with, oh my gosh, I remember Beth McCarthy Miller directed, famous director from SNL. Megan.
Mullally. It was Megan
Thank
Mullally.
you. Megan
Yeah.
Mullally. And Tig guest starred on that show too. Oh my gosh, where we broke so hard we couldn't shoot forever. But so that's the difference. In the Motherhood was about working moms, and Notes from the Underbelly was about working moms as well. I think.
You got it.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Rachael Harris. You portray an Okampa on Star Trek Voyager where you wore prosthetic ears. You play a troll in a full mascot-style troll dog costume in one of your first credits, Treehouse Trolls, Forest of Fun and Wonder.
Very first.
And you wore a fat suit for flashback scenes on Reno 911. And you have said that the legs of your fat suit were the same ones worn by John Travolta in Hairspray. So
Yep.
the question is, of course, fuck, marry, kill. Your Star Trek ears, your troll head, or your John Travolta legs.
Oh my lord. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm going to. This is so funny. It's like such a. Okay, I know for sure. I'm gonna fuck my Alcampo ears.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of like, because I really want to marry my John Travolta fat legs from Reno 911. Which, by the way, Debbie Dangle's coming back.
Oh, good. Okay,
She's
and
going to be
then
on the
also,
reboot. That's so exciting.
That's a big. I don't know if I was supposed to tell you that, but fine, fuck it, doesn't matter. It's exciting. And then I would fucking kill that troll thing, that fucking man, like Disneyland character thing. It was crazy. We shot that like on 54th Street in the gnarliest Hell's Kitchen building, where I thought surely they shoot porn down the
probably
hall.
100%.
It was so gnarly, and I really thought, here we go. This is it.
Showbiz, babe.
I'm in it. Crazy.
And here we are. Rachel Harris, this has been an utter joy and delight. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. I love you guys.
I loved that interview, but I have a serious question that I feel like we have to ask Rachel, which is like, now that Quibi is done, is Reno 911 reboot going to be like sold elsewhere? Like, do you think I looked and I didn't see anything and I was like, oh,
it's for sure going to go somewhere else, right? Why can't Comedy Central buy it?
can you
What's
believe
happening?
she was wearing the slimy latex legs of John Travolta?
Well, I can, in the fact that, Hollywood, I think, just recycles itself every 15 years anyway. But what I love about it is that she loved those legs. She was really, really deeply into wearing those slick latexed poly foam legs.
So something that didn't make the cut of this episode that I feel like is worth mentioning, and I want to challenge you to, Rodaman, but also anybody else who's listening, is we talked to Rachel sort of like a lot of tangents about just like great like movies or movies that we liked or hated or whatever. We like talked about like just pop culture stuff, and we talked about Clue, which is my number one film. We talked about Tootsie, which I feel like I was like, oh, I had to revisit it because is it terrible? And then Rachel was like, well, me and my friend Steven Weber were recently talking about it and he thinks it doesn't work. And I was like, okay, I'm going to revisit Tootsie. And then I was going to watch Tootsie and I started it, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to pause this and I'm going to challenge Anne and our listeners. We should rewatch Tootsie for next week, and then let's see, we can all have a conversation about, does Tootsie hold up? I think Terry Garr's going to hold up.
Terry Gar, no question, holds up. I think Dustin Hoffman's, I'll save it. I have opinions.
But let's do this, and then we're going to check in with Rachel and Steven Weber, star of Wings, and Jeffrey. Oh, yes.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yes. Oh, Steven Weber was in this movie, Jeffrey. It's like a 1995 gay indie with like Patrick Stewart, and I was hot for it. So blessings to Steven Weber. I think that he and I might share the same opinion about Tootsie, and I can't wait to talk about it.
I just want to remind you that we are connecting this week's guest to next week's guest. And I took me a second, but I got there, and it's actually a fairly direct line. Did you get there?
I forgot to do it. Fuck. I'm so glad you brought it up. Is it like must-see TV?
It is must-see TV, but I will say that this week's guest mentioned the husband of next week's guest by name.
Yes. Great job. She absolutely did. Oh, folks, I hope that gets your, what is it called? Whets your appetite? We've been talking for like 30 minutes.
Flowing.
Folks, we love you. And we love you.
We really do. Thank you for sticking with us on this journey. Honestly, this brings us a lot of pleasure, and we hope it does for you too. We miss you. We are going to keep at it through, until our bones crumble.
Decay.
Until I'm well on my way.
If you like this, make sure you're subscribed. I hope that you are if you're listening. But if, make sure your friends are subscribed, your family, the people that you're vetting to invite into your home. Make sure that you are subscribed wherever you listen to your podcast. And please give us a review, whatever you think is appropriate, but hopefully a nice one. And if you have constructive criticism, shoot that to us in our DMs.
And of course, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram and all social media at Damian Bellino and at Rodaman. That's my last name combined with my first. In case you didn't know, my last name is pronounced Rodaman, but my handle is Rodaman, Rodemanne.
You might know her from is produced by us, Damian Bellino and Ann Rodaman.
Yeah, and we want to give a shout out to our consultants at Grumpy Entertainment, Jason Jude Hill and Daniel Sears. And all that editing you hear is also by the brilliant Daniel Sears.
And we want to thank Gang for all that music you hear in your ear holes. You can find them on iTunes and wherever you listen to music. We love Gang.
Damian, I have a question. Who do you think that actor is that Rachael Harris had an encounter with on Starsky and Hutch? Who do you think it is?
I think it's Vince Vaughn. Who do you think it is?
It's absolutely Vince Vaughn.
I hate him.